Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar brought to you by FOCUS Enviro. FOCUS is Australia's exclusive distributor for unthreading technology, and today we're joined by Gary Moore from UNTHA, who's here to talk to you about the innovations in tyre processing, recycling, and the production of the alternative fuel TDF. My name is Katie, and I'm your host for this morning. And you may note from my accent that I'm presenting to you from the UK. It's 1 AM right now, so as always, Gary and I are caffeine fueled, and we hope we have an information-packed event for you. We've a lot to cover, but together we're going to explore just how much TDF production has changed, particularly in the last 12 months. So we're going to look at the untapped potential in the tyre recycling landscape, must-know TDF specifications, and also how to design a modular tyre shredding line. We also do have a couple of videos for you today, so you can see some TDF production processes in action. You won't be able to hear any audio on these videos, but if you'd like a copy of the presentation slides when the event is over, you can enjoy the videos in full that way. You should also be able to see a chat box on the side of your screen. So if you do have any questions throughout today's event, please type them into that box and we'll answer as many as we can before the session is over. If that box gets in the way at any point, you should be able to see a little orange arrow that allows you to minimize and reopen that event at that chat panel at any point. Finally, if you do experience any sound issues or you lose connectivity at any point throughout today's session, please close your screen and rejoin using the invitation link you received via email around 1 hour ago. That's the only housekeeping from me, so I hope you enjoy today's webinar, and I'd now like to hand you over to our speaker, Gary Moore. Thank you, Gary.
Katie, as always, thank you very much for that excellent introduction. Very much appreciated. What I'd like to say to everyone is, as we are presenting on a truly global stage, let me open by saying good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And obviously to Robbie and Ryan, my colleagues over at FOCUS Enviro, good morning to you as well. As Katie has already intimated, it is 1 o'clock in the morning over in the UK. We have just won the football. We've qualified for the last 16 in the Euros, so very pleased with that. And it's obviously it's that's kept us fueled and ready to go today. So good morning, everyone. So my name is Gary Moore, and as you can see from the slide, I have gained some considerable experience in delivering the correct shredding technology and solutions to suit customers' many applications. The majority of these are for the alternative fuels markets, and I have extensive knowledge of UNTHA's world-leading shredding technology, and I am responsible for new business development and key account management, and I proactively seek out fresh project opportunities, especially within the alternative fuels markets. I work alongside senior waste and recycling decision makers to devise shredding solutions that will achieve their business objectives. I have over 25 years global shredding experience, and I joined UNTHA in 2015 and have director level role across Europe, Australasia and USA, with my own base being in the UK as sales director. I have responsibility for strategic growth and development of the Australian market for the waste and recycling product range, and the USA for the waste range. So working alongside our Australian sole distributor, FOCUS Enviro, we continue to penetrate the alternative fuels market for UNTHA's revolutionary XR static and mobile shredding systems. We design and supply best fit client-centric shredding solutions for a wide range of UNTHA potential and existing clients. Since the company was founded in 1970, UNTHA has been fulfilling its promise to be the reliable brand, meaning that we do everything we can to be more reliable than other providers. This applies to all UNTHA products and services. For our customers, this means that choosing an UNTHA system was the best decision they could make. So some key facts. We have 10,000 and growing daily successfully implemented shredding solutions, 80% in-house production made in Austria, 4 subsidiaries and sales in over 40 countries, 64 service and sales partners worldwide, thousands of individually tailored adaptations to suit individual customer requirements, 300 highly qualified employees worldwide, 50 years of know-how, and 50 years of shredding excellence. In fact, we actually celebrated our 50-year anniversary only last year. So as you can imagine, with all that experience, we've caused quite a stir in the UK when it comes to processing tyres and producing TDF, which is a tyre derived fuel. And we think with the help from FOCUS Enviro, we can transform opportunities for operators handling tyres here in Australia too. So to give you a flavour of why and to highlight exactly what we're here to talk to you about today, we'd like you to watch this 40-second video. It won't play sound, but you'll be able to watch it again with the music when you get your own copy of the slides later. So enjoy. So let's make a start and explore exactly what's possible when it comes to handling end-of-life tyres and manufacturing TDF for use as an alternative fuel. They're still considered by many as a problematic waste stream that is economically unviable to process. But the changing commodity landscape, the advancement of technology and new innovation means the resource potential of old tyres can readily be achieved with operational and maintenance costs significantly lower than once experienced, therefore making this a much more viable venture for investment. But the complex makeup of tyre products and the lack of engineering advancement in this specific area of waste handling means that for several years they have not been considered economically viable to process. But profit is not a dirty word, and companies should not be afraid of striving to make money from their operations, especially if they are to be commercially sustainable. In the eyes of many, even those who want to support the drive to achieve a circular economy, end-of-life tyres are simply a waste headache. But fast forward to 2021, and they could just become an industry hero. Of course, some savvy operators are already way ahead of the curve. Processing tyres for recycling and energy recovery sounds like a complex task. And of course, sophisticated machinery must lie at the heart of such an operation. But as is often the case, thanks to engineering advancements, ultra clever tyre shredding technology can in fact be simple to run. And acknowledging the long-standing difficulties associated with making money from this once deemed unshreddable waste stream, tyre processing systems are now also designed with profitability in mind. In fact, many waste handlers have achieved payback periods in as short as 18 months. Key to maximising the wealth in this waste stream is typically design of a processing line that can produce a contaminant-free, homogeneous output in a single pass. This reduces the capital investment required to build the system. If the technology is flexible and can be easily reconfigured to handle different input materials, including standard car or passenger tyres, through to more rugged truck or OTR tyres and more, the investment is further protected. And if different output specifications ranging from 15 to 100 mil can be satisfied depending on end user requirements, routes to market should open up too to minimize this risk. The technology must be engineered to withstand the pressures of this tough, bulky waste stream, of course, and a slow running machine with a high torque should ideally be sought. This will ensure minimal wear and long service intervals, which maintains plant uptime and keeps maintenance costs low without any detriment to throughputs. A capacity of 18 to 15 tonnes per hour should be comfortably achievable with operator safety always protected. So, end of life, the facts. With a reported 1.5 billion products reaching their end of life globally every year, and a worrying 60% of these said to be landfilled, stockpiled, illegally dumped, or lost from the resource chain, tyres continue to represent a notorious problem for the waste management industry. The impact that the unscrupulous handling of these redundant materials has on the environment is also vast, not least when stockpile fires break out unexpectedly or are deliberately started to solve the mountain waste issue. So, some industry professionals will view and read this and think converting tyres into an alternative fuel is nothing new, and they'd be right. But acknowledgement of the resource potential in tyres is only going to grow, and quickly. In fact, a product that has long proven troublesome for many could soon emerge as a widely recognised and important piece of the environmental jigsaw. Various external factors, such as the state of the commodity landscape, as well as operators' own appetite to process end-of-life tyres, means a number of rubber specialists now have the opportunity to develop not just cradle-to-grave systems for this waste stream, but a completely closed-loop business model. So why not produce TDF? The recycling and reuse of scrap tyres is an integral part of reducing the environmental footprint. Using methods like TDF are one way to help deliver sustainable solutions to protect the world for future generations. Benefits of producing TDF include saving millions of tyres from landfills in a safe and environmentally responsible way, keeps unsafe reused tyres off the road and out of the market, produces the same or to its IE value, leaves no leftover residue to be landfilled, can reduce emissions from CO2, sulfur and nitrogen, is a proven and widely recognised technology regulated by many countries. TDF has the flexibility to be used in a variety of industries. These include cement manufacturing, pulp and paper industry, electric utilities, industrial boilers, ties to energy facilities, and many more. Historically, expensive high-speed machines and complicated recirculatory systems have been used to produce TDF. This culminates in eyewear, which requires extensive repairs and expensive replacement parts. Invariably, unplanned breakdowns will occur, and this all adds up to TDF being typically cost prohibitive to produce. That is until now. This general arrangement layout shows a stationary system installed with an XR3000C HT primary shredder and then an XR3000XC secondary shredder. This system will process old car, truck and agricultural tyres. The primary shredder will shred in a single pass to a 50mm TDF chip, and the 50mm chip will then discharge into the XR3000XC secondary shredder for production of an 8 to 15mm nominal product sizing for use in pyrolysis or gasifier systems. The system is modular in design, so each section of the component build can be added or removed at each relevant stage as the business grows or needs to modify production requirements or processes. And as you can see from the general arrangement drawing here, on the crosshairs on the left-hand side, the primary left-hand part of the system demonstrates the XR3000HT, which will produce the 50mm TDF chip. And looking at the general arrangement drawing again, we can see on the secondary part of the system on the right-hand side, this system demonstrates the XR3000XC, which will produce the 8 to 15mm chip. And here we can see on the continuing with the UNTHA TDF system, this is another 3D isometric alternative view. And again, another 3D isometric alternative view. And then this pretty much shows you the 2D side elevation and plan view, which will give you the overall footprint of the system. So under the hood of the XRs, let's start with the primary shredder, the XR3000C HT. And as you can see under the hood, this is a single shaft machine, as you can see there, and the rotor on the diagram that you can see there, it shows you on the left-hand part of the diagram, this is the rotor. Just below that is the cutting system. This is the cutter that we use. The lower right-hand side, you can actually see this is a static XR3000C machine. And looking through the specifications of this machine, this has 232 kilowatt drives. The machine is fitted with a safety clutch. When we're shredding the tyres for a TDF range, we fit this machine with 2 knife rows, and typically we have a screen basket in the machine of 50 mil. We have an hydraulic quick change screen system with a ram assist, and we have automatic central lubrication, adjustable cutting bars, and a programmable 7-inch color touch display screen, and a Genius system, which is an analog analytical system that can pretty much monitor everything that the shredder's doing when it's processing material. So looking, I won't go through all of this particular one because pretty much it's there in print for you to see, but these are the key features at a glance. And you can see some of those: new iTorque innovation, purposely engineered for this eyewear application, variable product sizing. Really important part of this is a direct electronic synchronous eco drive unit. So typically on this machine, when we're compared with a diesel machine, we're going to be actually using up to probably in some instances between 40 and 50% less energy than you would for an alternative type machine. And moving on to the secondary shredder, the XR3000XC, you can see we have a slightly different design of rotor on the left-hand side. This is what we call a tangential type of cut. Machine runs at slightly higher speed. We still have the 232 kilowatt eco drives, and pretty much we have all of the benefits of the C version of the machine, but it does allow us to, after the pre-shred, to allow the material to be cut to a much more homogeneous, finer product sizing, and it allows us to get to that 8 to 15 mil product sizing for pyrolysis and gasifier systems. And again, this next page shows you again some key features at a glance. And again, it's pretty much slightly different. We've got on this machine, we've got an I14 gear reducer. Again, still low speed iTorque, but we are running this machine at a slightly faster speed. But again, when you get the handouts for all of this, you can probably read this specific part of the presentation at your leisure. So moving on to the next slide. Global interest. Why do we have a global interest in the XR3000? Well, the XR3000 series of shredder is a revolutionary machine concept of tyre shredding. In actual fact, the pioneer when it comes to the single pass shredding. All of our XR products are equipped with the energy efficient UNTHA eco drive. This ensures that your operating costs will be minimized and that material quality will be maximized. With an extensive range of interchangeable screens and cutters, the primary and secondary shredders can be configured according to the customer's output specification. For example, a consistent 15 mil chip, 50 mil TDF particle, or a rough shred particle size are achievable, as is anything in between. This means the XR series can be configured with ease to produce an homogeneous alternative fuel for the waste to energy, cement, gasification, or pyrolysis markets. And again, some benefits at a glance. We have a robust shredder with a high degree of resistance to unshreddable items. We have an effective removal system for those unshreddable items. Homogeneous defined fraction size through a perforated integral screen. This is a slow speed iTorque shredder design. And we have very low noise and dust emission. Noise levels typically less than 75 dBA. Low energy costs due to the UNTHA eco drive. and a very easy machine to service and maintain. Minimal disassembly required, and of course the all-important low-cost competitive wear parts. And it's not only us that's talking about the XR series. We have some good media surrounding the products. So it's not just the UNTHA colleagues and customers who are getting excited about what's now possible when it comes to tyre processing. Our work has attracted the attention of many industry journals on a truly global basis, and considering the government is continuing to invest in this space, we think this is a huge sign of its importance. So we're going to see a video coming up now. This video was taken on a customer site, and it demonstrates the ability of the XR3000 HT mobile to process old tyres, whether this be car, truck or agricultural tyres. This process can be undertaken in a single pass to a 50mm TDF chip, and at the same time extract the free wire from the product. And again, when the video starts, we thought that rather than playing the sound of the machine shredding away and doing its job, we would just let you enjoy the sound when you get the copies of the presentation. The video seems to be stalled a little bit, but basically we have a graph that's feeding the shredder, and I'm having to talk fairly slow here to keep up with what we're doing. But you can see there, guys, you know, the machine is processing old agricultural tyres. It can be car and truck tyres, and we're taking that down to a 50mm TDF chip. But you'll enjoy that so much more when you can see it at your leisure and you can stream that video properly. So on to the next slide, and it's pretty much the end of the presentation. So thank you very much for your attention, everyone. I know your time is important, so I want to thank you for attending this webinar. And I would now be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Gary, and apologies if anyone did experience any sound delays or dropouts in sound quality at any point. The challenge when you do introduce the videos is that it can cause a couple of stalls, so hopefully the experience wasn't impacted for you too much there. Like we said, you will all receive a copy of today's presentation slides and an audio recording of today's event, so you can listen again in your own time. We do have quite a few questions coming in, Gary, so I'm going to kick off and start running through those, but if anyone does have any extra questions they'd like to pose to Gary, please just type them into the chat box on the side of your screen. Okay, so to begin with, Gary, someone has asked about debeading. Can you talk us through in a little more detail what debeading means and how the XR prevents the need to debead?
Yes, typically, I'll go back. You know, I have to use that comment. In the old days, tyre shredding equipment wasn't able to shred an old tyre, whether it was a car, truck, agricultural, whichever tyre, because the bead wire, the centre bead wire that connects up to the rim of the wheel, is quite an heavy piece of metal that runs around that rim. Hence, it's called the bead wire. Modern machines, and typically the XR range of shredders, we have no need to remove any of the bead wire on the tyres. There is sufficient power in the machine to enable any of those tyres to be shredded very easily to whichever product size that you want. And the magnets that we fit to these machines, whether it's a crossbelt magnet or if you've got a static system with an inline magnet, that we can easily remove the free wire from the product, so that you end up with a clean chip and the free wire, which again, you know, both products, TDF for the chip and the free wire can go off for recycling.
Thank you. And someone asked earlier on in the presentation if you could just absolutely 100% clarify that with one pass, an UNTHA shredder can get tyres down to 50mm and completely remove the steel. Is that correct?
It's absolutely correct that we can get down to a 50 ml product in a single pass. However, when we're using a 50 ml TDF product, we actually, the way that they use the material as an alternative fuel, we actually like a little bit of wire to remain in the tyre because it helps the burn process, and the sulfur in there, helps you achieve that. So a 50 ml chip will never remove all of the wire. Now, what it does do, what we do produce is a 50 ml clean chip with no free wire hanging out the side. So it is a clean chip. But in order to fully remove every piece of wire, you actually need to shred down between 8 to 15 ml to liberate all of that wire.
Thank you, Gary. A gentleman has asked if it can shred motorbike and bicycle tyres as well.
Yes, very easily. I mean, for a machine that can process typical car tyres, van tyres, truck tyres, agricultural, small OTR tyres, absolutely no problem with motorcycle and bicycle tyres.
Thank you. This is a question we get asked a lot in these webinars across different applications, but how do you find that customers typically decide whether they invest in a static XR or a mobile XR?
It breaks down pretty simply, really, because if you want to take the shredder to the source of the problem, people will tend to go for a mobile shredder. Now, to explain that a little bit, especially in Australia, where you've got some pretty large open land, and there may be a lot of tyre dumps out there that are outside of the normal urban areas. With the mobile system, you can load onto you can load it onto a trailer, take it to site, connect it up to a genset, and you're shedding and volume reducing the product at source. So that's tend to be it would go for a stationary static system, and you would have the tyres brought into you, or you may have a collection service that you run where you bring them back into a central point.
Thank you, Gary. I did lose you a little for the sound there. So if anyone did also experience any sound issues, when we send you the presentation in a few hours' time, if you do want to ask any further questions offline, please just send those in reply to that email, and we'll make sure we address them via email if anyone did have any sound problems. Someone has asked, Gary, if you had a high temperature pyrolysis system on site, could you run the shredded material directly into that pyrolysis system?
We tend when we're feeding into a pyrolysis system, we tend to feed into a bunker system, a silo system, because any modern pyrolysis system cannot keep up with the output of the shredder. So what we actually do is we shred into a bunker silo system that will then meter feed the pyrolysis system at the rate required.
Thank you. We've had a couple of similar questions from different delegates today asking about the use of the XR to produce a rubber chip for recycling or remanufacturing. That's possible, isn't it? It doesn't just have to be used for tyre derived fuel.
That's correct. We can shred things like rubber conveyor belting, other rubberized products. So yeah, it doesn't have to just be for tyres and for producing TDF.
Thank you. And we've had quite a few questions coming in, several questions actually, which is exploring the cost of this machine. So can we talk numbers and the building of the business case for the XR, please?
We can do. I mean, typically, and I would say to all of our potential clients and customers out there, Robbie and Ryan at FOCUS Enviro, these are the guys that can prepare your proposals and your offers and give you all the definitive pricing on the equipment, because they will want to talk to you and look at your specific individual application. Do you need a mobile? Do you need a static system? What screen sizes do you need? There's a range of variables that are in the mix. But definitely Robbie and Ryan can give you all that you need to to meet your business model requirements.
Thank you. Not just with the shredding of tyres, Gary, but with a lot of particularly bulky or complex and difficult waste. Can you talk us through the procedure that the XR would go through if the machine encounters a foreign object, please?
Yeah, very easy. I mean, one of the, I won't say, one of the major benefits, but definitely a real big benefit that we find customers globally, that why they really do like the XR series of machine, is the ability to very easily remove a potential unshreddable item. So what you will actually have, if we get a piece of unshreddable material in there, say an engine block went in there, something unusual like that, we would have a disturbance come up on the screen of the shredder to tell you that there's an unshreddable in there. We have two approaches to overload. There's a typical amperage overload. So amperage overload, we may see the shredder go into reverse, and that may be under normal working conditions where the machine has encountered a piece of material that's a little bit more pliable or flexible, that needs a bit more torque, and we'll have a reversal, and then it will go forward and cut again. And then we'll have that major potential unshreddable where the clutch system will cut in and disengage the mechanical drive to make sure we're protecting the machine. Now, everything happens automatically there, so the disturbance light will come on. It'll tell you that you've got an unshreddable to remove. The guy will press the button on the control pad, the door will lift up. The guy then presses the button again, and the rotor will counter rotate at 2 RPM. It will kick out the offending item, and then basically you press another button, and then the door will shut up, lock the door up, and then you're back into shredding again. Typically, that whole thing would take anywhere between 5 and 7 minutes to get you to removing an unshreddable to putting the machine back into service.
Thank you, Gary. Off the back of that explanation there, someone has asked if that's one of the key benefits of having a slower speed, a slower running machine, as opposed to some of the high speed equivalents in the market.
Absolutely, and it's a very good point, and a very, it's a great question, because low speed I torque, this machine is typically rotating at anywhere between 38 and 50 RPM, depending on what product we're shredding. And not only do we have the benefit of those protection devices such as amperage overload reversing and the clutch systems, but we're also running at low speed. So we're not generating any massive inertia or speed that's going to potentially cause damage. And those people out there that in the past or may be continuing to run high speed equipment will know that when you're running an high speed piece of equipment, if you get a potential unshreddable in there, that shear pin may not shear quick enough. And you're going to cause all sorts of damage in high speed machine, which we don't happen in equipment.
Thank you, Gary. Again, sorry if anyone experienced any sound issues there. The questions are still coming in thick and fast, so we will try and get through as many as we can in the next 15 minutes or so. Gary, a question here, less about the machine actually, and more about the personnel side of operations. How many people would you suggest might be required to operate the 15mm operation that you showed on screen earlier?
We've just we're going through the process. We've got several systems being installed in the UK at the moment of a similar size. Typically, companies may be running a plant of that size with anywhere from 3, to 5 persons.
Thank you. And could you please confirm the largest size tyres that you have shredded through the XRHT?
Yeah, we've pretty much done I think we processed a 6-foot OTR. When you start to get beyond the 6-foot OTR, it's not necessarily the circumference that starts to be an issue. It's the actual width of the top.
Thank you. Can the XR also...
And over the 6 foot size, the width of the tyre increased where we don't get a correct purchase, on that tyre.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Can
Katie,
the
go on.
XR... No, sorry, I think our sound keeps getting scrambled. We'll blame the distance. Can the XR also be used, please, to shred waste HDPE pipe?
Yes, it can do. It's a very flexible machine. It can do that. Really depends again on what the largest size of HDPE pipe is in terms of diameter that you want to process.
Thank you. Someone has asked, please, about typical feed stockpile size that customers are using in order to run a profitable business. What throughputs are they finding gets them to to the point where they are running a successful operation?
Well, on tyres, the guys are processing, anywhere from 6 to 15 tonne an hour. If we was using a different product and it's something like C&I waste, they would be processing, up to 30 tonne an hour. So depending on what products they want to process, different throughput values will then come into play.
Thank you. Someone has asked here about the Australian markets for the offtake markets for the end product. So for that question, I think Robbie and Ryan from FOCUS will get in contact to discuss everything from specifications to output materials, offtake markets, finance available, and so on. So we'll come back to you directly about that one. Someone here, Gary, has asked, does UNTHA have any experience working with customers with generating black carbon gas or not? Is that relevant to the world that you work in?
Generating black carbon gas. If there's a product that needs to be volume reduced, size reduced to a certain size that is involved in that, yes, we would do. We would be interested, but I haven't dealt with any of inquiries for that specific industry at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Someone has asked Gary about the eco drive. Could you just talk briefly, please, a little bit more about the eco drive and why that's so important as a design feature of the XR, please?
Yeah, the eco drive is really a 30-pole synchronous drive motor that is inverter driven. So basically what the inverter drive does, it's a forced vector drive that pretty much allows the motor to spin up to full speed and to stop immediately and to go into reverse very quickly and forward. So it's a very, very adaptable drive system for shredding applications. And in the very process of it being a synchronous 30-pole drive motor and inverter driven, it uses much, much less energy to torque ratio than we would normally get with typically a totally enclosed fan cooled drive motor, asynchronous squirrel cage drive motor that normally runs on direct online or star delta drive.
Thank you. There are quite a few questions coming in now with regards to spare and wear parts and maintenance. I'm going to try and tackle these together because I think the answers will be interlinked. So to begin with, Gary, a few people have asked about the sourcing of spare and wear parts. Are they produced and supplied by UNTHA? And do you recommend using those original manufacturer parts?
Absolutely. We would always recommend using OEM spare and wear parts because not only does it validate your warranty in the early years, but it makes sure that your machinery is kept up to optimum performance, and it's guaranteed. All the spare parts and that are guaranteed directly from the factory. Now, the benefit that you've got in Australia is that Robbie and Ryan over at FOCUS Enviro, they hold all the stock required to support these machines.
Thank you. In terms of operator training when the machine is first commissioned on site, please could you talk us through how easy it is for a customer's engineering team to learn how to operate and maintain the XR themselves?
Yeah, we go through, you know, every machine that is delivered and supplied. We go through a fairly stringent training program. Uh, Robbie and Ryan's both been factory trained, and their engineers are factory trained. So not only can they administer training, but there's times that they call on us when either, you know, our teams are visiting Australia to do progressive training. So yeah, any training that we give is very in depth. You know, we normally spend anywhere from 2 to 4 days giving operational training so that customers are, you know, competent in how the machine actually operates, how we feed the machine, how it processes, how we take the material away from the shredder, and then we go over the maintenance side. So you've got the daily routines that we go through, things that you walk around the machine and you'll check on a daily basis, to the more in-depth training where, you know, we're actually doing screen changes, where we're doing cutter changes, where we're changing lubricants and oils. So yeah, the training is very progressive and very in-depth.
Thank you. Could you please, someone has asked and given a brilliant question actually, given we do actually have another webinar coming up on this specific application, but someone has asked about the flexibility of the XR. We've talked about its ability to shred different input materials. So how do you reconfigure the XR to tackle other inputs such as mattresses?
Okay, a mattresses is a good choice because the mattress specification is almost exactly the same as the tyre specification. We use 2 knife rows for that machine. We run the machine at the same speed. Typically, we run the same screen size because when you're shredding a mattress, we find we get the best liberation between textile and free wire as being 50 mil. So it's almost the same setup for mattresses and tyres. When we move on to a different product, if we're doing small domestic appliances with re-scrap, yes, then we would probably run that on 3 knife rows, slightly faster speed, maybe a slightly smaller screen size. And again, as Robbie and Ryan will explain as well, we have a lot of these machines for wood waste applications where they need to produce a specific wood-based product for their fuel sizing for their biomass. So it's yeah, it's a very flexible machine and very easy to change to suit a different application.
Thank you. Someone has asked Gary about the basis for the $3.30 per tonne cost, the wear cost. They've said, does this include labour as well as parts? And also someone has asked if you could help them, you as in FOCUS and UNTHA, help them build a business case specifically for their operation. Could you help them crunch the numbers?
Absolutely. What we've done there in provided in that cost is it's correct. It does what it when we build up what we call our OPEX document, and what that OPEX document does, it takes in all of the various the variables, all of the data that we need. So it will be taken into account the product that we're shredding, the hours that the machine's going to work, the power of the machine, the cutters. And when we've entered all that data in, that produces us what we call an OPEX sheet. And those numbers, the way that they are, the way that the spreadsheet and the number crunching works, is it punches out a cost per ton, which includes, you know, we've calculated in there the kilowatt per hour that we're using. We're calculating the wear parts over a certain period of time. So yeah, it's a very informative document that we produce, and yeah, we would gladly, you know, myself, Robbie, Ryan would gladly, you know, build a gentleman or whichever companies that is asking the question is produce that business model for you.
Thank you, Gary. Someone has asked, and I can answer this question myself, about the availability of videos, and we do have a wide library of videos of the XR, static and mobile, handling a number of different input materials and producing a number of different output specifications. So again, when you receive the email, including a copy of the presentation today, if you do have any specific requirements for additional resources that you need, please do let us know and we can send those on to you individually. That's fine. Someone someone has asked for the contact details for the Australian agent. So again, we can send through individuals' names, email addresses, telephone numbers, and so on in the follow-up email. It will be FOCUS Enviro, that's the company that's bringing you the webinar today, and their contact details will be included in that next step correspondence. Gary, you have whizzed through the questions that have come through. Thank you to everyone. There were quite a lot of questions today, but hopefully that just shows how much there is to discuss when it comes to the TDF topic. So if nobody has any further questions, I think I've got through them all. If I have missed any, I do apologise. Please do let us know and we'll be happy to carry on the conversation afterwards. But otherwise, that's all from me. I do hope you found the webinar helpful today, and I'll leave Gary to have the final words, and then we'll say goodbye.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Katie. Yes, I'd really just like to thank everyone. We've probably, I think, the distance involved, the timing and everything, I think we're going to get odd glitches occur. Hopefully we were 95% there. You got pretty much all the information that I tried to deliver. But as always, as Katie has explained, more than happy if you want to email me direct, you want to email Robbie or Ryan direct, just ask away. Whatever questions you need answered to suit your business model or to make you comfortable that you're buying the right machine from UNTHA, just ask us and we'll be there for you. But thanks for everybody. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to go and I'm going to retire for the evening now, and look forward to talking to you again soon. So many thanks, everybody. Much appreciated.
Thank you.